I'd like to invite the next speaker, which is Mr. Siddharth Rajhans. He is a management researcher, associated with the National University of Singapore, Yale University in the United States of America, and is a senior research associate with the Kellogg School of Management, United States of America. Mr. Rajhans is a well-known figure in the management fraternity and talk platforms across the globe, and has worked with Silicon Valley giants such as Facebook as a creative strategist, and Blue Lithium, Yahoo Advertising, and also for Ad Networks as a chief marketing analyst. Later, Mr. Siddharth Rajhans has been in the news for the offer from Google as their business process and risk specialist based out of the London office.
Residing in Singapore, he had gone all over the globe to take part in TEDx talks. In India, at the TEDx IIM event, he had spoken on the technical aspects of marketing. Recently, Siddharth spoke on the success of his venture Androidly, the world's first fully functional smartwatch, with his partner Siddharth Vats. Siddharth's talk on making your mark in Silicon Valley was highly appreciated by the industry stalwarts at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Under the TED group of the United States of America, Siddharth has been chosen as a speaker and guest invitee at TED events in the year 2012 and 2013 in recognition of his achievements, and is a regular speaker on the broad plethora of topics depending on the nature of the theme of talks organized. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Mr. Siddharth Rajhans.
Hello. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Yeah. So. You may have the dream, the ambition, the purpose, and the drive. But when you marry it with passion, and this is one marriage every youngster needs to do in here, right? When you marry it with passion, there's absolutely nothing that you can't achieve. And my talk today is exactly about that. The subject of the talk, I've titled it Conquering the Valley. So now, what valley is this all about? This is the Santa Clara Valley, right? Better known to all of us as the Silicon Valley. And this is home to all the technology companies, the world headquarters. These are some of the tech giants who have their world headquarters in Silicon Valley. Now, what correlation do I have with the Silicon Valley? Now, it so happened that I started my work life with Facebook, in the Menlo Park office. So somehow my work has been centered in and around companies in Silicon Valley. So that's why I chose this title for the talk today. So I'll put in a small introduction about myself, just for 4 or 5 minutes, won't brag you much. And then I'll, come to the point about how exactly Silicon Valley and what opportunities it holds for all of you guys. So, yeah, there are 2 aspects to my talk. The first one is my perspective of the topic, which is basically my journey in a nutshell. And then I'll be coming to the second aspect, the second most crucial aspect, and that is what I can give to the audience today, right? Because Silicon Valley is basically, the entrepreneurial ecosystem of the world. It is the germinating field. So what startup opportunities do you have there? And simply, how can you make it to a company in Silicon Valley? Because looking into the crowd today, and especially the college-going crowd, I thought this would be an apt, befitting topic to speak on, right? So I'll speak on something like this for the crowd, mastering placement interviews, the 30-day guide. Now, a small joke in here, this is absolute bullshit. You cannot master any placement in 30 days. So, but had I had a title that mastering placement interviews in, say, 4 years of an engineering, I guess 3/4 of the crowd in this hall would have gone. Bahut lamba bolne wala hai. So basically, I have chosen this title because, in railway stations, when you get down in India, there's this American engineer who got down at a railway station, and he saw this book, How to Become an Engineer in 30 Days. And that's exactly, that's the kind of stuff we Indians digest. So this is something that I'm going to tell you. I'll also tell you some Silicon Valley success mantras. And from being a garage company to global dominance, something about entrepreneurship, how Steve Jobs and Apple made it big in the entrepreneurial world, and championing the entrepreneurial world in Silicon Valley and beyond. So I'll begin. Now, this is a small introduction about me, right? Now, who is Siddharth Rajhans? Now, this, I'm of course not asking you guys. Yeah, but the fact is, this is one question that has always bothered me all my life, when I was in class 11th and 12th. And in all these stages, I was always bothered by this question. And I guess it becomes rather imperative at some point of time in our life to go through these W questions in life, where, what, why, So these questions are extremely important. And that brings us to a crucial juncture in our life. And that is the how-why equation. Now, this equation, I heard a gentleman called Mr. Mark Fritz speak this at one of the TEDx conferences in Silicon Valley. So, this is something very simple. If we have a strong why reason for what we want to do, we'll automatically come up with the how reason. The how reason, is something very simple. We know how we want to do it, how we want to go about it. But if we have a simple why reason, why we want to do it, are we genuinely passionate about it, we'll automatically come at a suitable solution. Whereas the problem with most of us is we look at it the other way around. We know how to do it, but we don't have a strong enough why reason. So that is something, we need to actually introspect before we take a decision. This is one of the basic things that I have always applied to whatever I did. Now, something about myself, I did my matriculation in India from a CBSE school in Indore. I had a good percentage in class 12. I wrote the JEE examination, everything. And then, I had always a dream to go abroad if I get a scholarship. So I wrote my, the regular entrances, TOEFL, SAT, everything. And I got a scholarship at the National University of Singapore. So again, I'm an Indian. We Indians don't miss out on a good bargain. So since it was a free education, I took it up. So this is something, I feel. In India, college life is a 3 to 4 year picnic, That is how Indian students think about it. That's because, ask how many of you genuinely in this crowd tell me that you have come to college or you have been to your college because the professor was good, because the subject was very good. Ask 90% of Indian youngsters and they'll tell you, college kyo gaya? Because the girls were good. Second, the infrastructure was good. The placements were good. But how many of you here genuinely, attended college because the professor was good, because that subject was really very fascinating? This is what exactly we need. We need more people like Mr. Deepak Shukla, and young teachers and young professors and people who are genuinely passionate about being educated and, educating others. So my journey overseas, has been divided into 2 segments. I was a good student, so I did well at my graduation at the National University. The part 1 is the process and the decision of going abroad. So looking into the opportunities, and I came across this program on technology management at the National University of Singapore. So this is the first part, So I took these decisions, the how-why equation, and I somehow ended up in Singapore. Now after that, the education part of it. So as a good student, luckily, companies came to campus. So the companies were, Facebook and Google. Facebook came for an internship. So I performed well in the interviews and everything. And that is where I actually landed up in the Menlo Park office of Facebook. So yeah, I did my graduation in a major called technology management. And this is something really important, I'm not one of those speakers who would actually tell you education is a waste of time. You need to drop out and you need to start something of your own. Because, these days we have this trend about people, about youngsters who are here to promote entrepreneurship, but are of the mindset that, education would take you a long way and it is not practical enough. And then you have a separate section of people who tell you to keep studying and then go for financial security, job prospects and everything. But in my case, I'll tell you to balance both the things, because my research at NTU, the Nanyang Technological University, was something that helped me back the placement opportunity at Facebook. So I personally believe education is extremely important in one's life, right? The motivational philosophy that I preach is, you need to strike a balance between being studious and being a risk taker. You need to identify that fine line where the two Venn diagrams collide, the intersection. That is where you need to be. I personally believe that's the comfort zone for success. You need to be extremely skilled at your work, and then you need to have that opportunistic go-getter attitude of an entrepreneur to capitalize on the opportunity. Now, education is really important, right? And this is the dropout trend, that is what is confusing our entire generation. So I have a small joke in here, that I found on Facebook some months back, We know the top three guys, right? Steve Jobs, Zuckerberg, and Mr. Bill Gates. All of them technically dropouts, and they made it big in the world of startups. And the fourth is what most of us would actually be, If I leave school, I'll be the bitch please guy washing utensils. So this is exactly, the kind of atmosphere that we are used to. And this is something, in order to avoid this situation, you actually need to focus on your education. You need to have those skills. The top three people were extremely intelligent, mind me. They dropped out of school because the school curriculum was far behind them. But, inculcating that in our practice would take us nowhere. Yeah. Now, part 3 of my work life in Silicon Valley and beyond. I began my career at Facebook as a creative strategist in the marketing team. I was responsible for some updates in the marketing team, such as the edit feature that you see in the posts these days, and a few other stuff. So the biggest learning point at Facebook was the company environment. There was no hierarchy. It was a flat organization, right? No power distance. The entire concept of power distance was absent. So that was something so very cool about the entire organization. That was something I was so inspired and kicked about in the very first job in my life. And then at a TEDx Silicon Valley event, I happened to meet my next employers at Yahoo. So I jumped over from Facebook to Yahoo in 8 months. Another mistake most youngsters do. So I did that. And I worked at the Yahoo office in San Jose. Thereafter, my mother's dream, post-graduation kab karega beta. So, of course, I didn't want to go for the MBA thing. So I've been doing my research since July 2013. Now, in October, I submitted a few research papers here and there, and the Royal Society of London offered me their fellowship. And after which came the Google thing. So the Google thing, it frankly happened because of my research work and all of these things coming together. So here it was. I joined Google in November, and I'm on a 1-month break. That is why I'm speaking here and at a couple of few more places. Yeah? So the Google story is simple, It is all a process, I believe, from going from one step to another. When you arrive at a junction in life wherein your work starts being appreciated, you automatically get the right opportunities. But it is upon us, to capitalize on those opportunities genuinely. Because without that, we won't, ever succeed. So I got featured in some of the newspapers. My work started getting recognition. I appeared in the media a couple of times. I was there in the holiday reception event of the White House, was felicitated by the US Embassy and stuff. But, the main learning that I can give to you today, the main essence of all of this is, in today's world, I don't believe in hard work. There is something called as smart work. You need to capitalize on the moment, You need to have the best contacts. You need to know the people who are there doing the best work in your industry, and you actually need to know a very good aspect of development, that is networking. You actually need to know the people who are there doing the best kind of work and need to tap the power of it. My career with TED began in TEDx Silicon Valley in 2012. There, I happened to meet a few more prospective employers and stuff. And it happened as an accident. Now, I was speaking at Lahore University a couple of days back, and a student asked me, Sir, aapke saath aisa kaun sa accident hua tha that you became a speaker? So I said, no accident, It wasn't that I fell from the stairs and I suddenly started blabbering. So it was just that, I got noticed. So it is very important in today's world to, get your work reflected in the best places and actually thereafter, develop the entire process. So these were some of the clients I spoke for. And now I'll come to the best part, as a creative strategist for Facebook and an analyst for Yahoo, what have I learned? Frankly speaking, these companies, the kind of atmosphere that they have, the growth opportunities, the best part is the lack of power distance. And that is what helps us grow. The sir, madam, all that Indian mentality of being bogged down by the Kyanusi thoughts, the thoughts that keep you down. These things, they always are a hurdle in your progress. And this is something that Silicon Valley never had. The greatest success mantra I've learned in Silicon Valley, it's this. Most of the successful companies, they have practiced this, resilience, hope, passion, ambition, discipline, purpose, morality, integrity, and of course, family and love and stuff like this. Love, of course, is the last thing. I'll come back to it. So this is what separates the good from the great. Most successful people, in Silicon Valley, whom I have met, they have all practiced this particular mantra. Now, this is something I like to especially speak in relevance to the student community. Now, nothing of this sort actually happens. But yeah, since I have to motivate you guys, I have to go through it, right? So this is the very first week, Now, the 30 days before your placement season, divided this way. I believe you might have studied very well in the 4 years of your engineering or graduation. But the 1 month before companies come, divided this way, In the very first month, in the very first week, all you need to do is you need to use the internet to capitalize on the opportunities that you have. In the second week, you need to focus on your subject matter. Just go through it, brush it up, so that your all the knowledge, all the key technical jargon is on your fingertips. On the third week, you need to focus on building your soft skills so that you're able to communicate fluently to your prospective employer. And in the fourth week, go and mock interviews, stuff like this, that makes you at ease with an interview surrounding. And finally, since 28 days are now over, so if it's a month of 30 or 31 days, you will have 2-3 days left. So don't do anything, relax, watch a movie, don't give a damn on which company is coming, and finally, ignore what I just said, focus and stay calm. That's very important. That's the summary of all that I want to tell you. Now, brief about my entrepreneurship ventures. Androidly is the world's first fully functional smartwatch. So we are in the process of having that done with a friend of mine. Then a funding act I did with whatever little savings I had at a company called Foradian in Bangalore. And then a talk platform company which is on the process of getting incorporated. Now, this is all that I learned from Silicon Valley and my experiences there. The crush factor. When a boy enters a college and he falls in love with a girl, what does he do? He comes up with innovative techniques to actually go up to her and speak to her, propose to her. This is what you need to apply to your work. You need to have a crush on your work front. You need to be actually in love with your work. That is when exactly success happens, right? You need to be different. It's very important to be this guy. It's important to be yourself, not having a fake accent or anything, but just be yourself. Just keep calm and focus on what you need to do. Build on your professional connections. Now, this is something very important, tap the power of social networking. And this is, again, some very good, hints that I like to give you. Think out of the box. In fact, don't have a box at all. Stay hungry. Be innovative. Be as creative as you can. And these are some of the things, I've actually accumulated on my learnings. Clarity and specificity. This is extremely important at one's work front. Laser sharp dominant priorities. The right kind of people. Then at a higher management level, reviews and dialogue, and then follow through. And believe me, this isn't rocket science. We have Saurav here telling us everything about rocket science. But this thing here, these 5 points, these are difficult than rocket science. You actually need to go through years in order to master them, right? The Steve Jobs mantra, treat every day as your last, right? Now, we have a small video in here. Can we have it, please?
For the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death. leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had a scan at 7:30 in the morning, and it clearly showed a tumor on my pancreas. I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me this was almost certainly a type of cancer that is incurable, and that I should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. My doctor advised me to go home and get my affairs in order, which is doctor's code for prepare to die. It means to try and tell your kids everything you thought you'd have the next 10 years to tell them in just a few months. It means to make sure everything is buttoned up so that it will be as easy as possible for your family. It means to say your goodbyes.
This is something, this is very emotional kind of stuff, you know. This entire thing about, the gist about this particular video, you know. Steve Jobs, he lived all his life thinking if it were the last day of my life. And actually when that happened, when he had just had 6 months to live, after he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, he applied this in real time. And we all know the success story, you know, Apple has been. So this is exactly what you need to know. And I'll take your leave on this note. And yeah, thank you for being such a wonderful audience. And there's this one last thing I'd like to tell you guys, you know, that there's just one thing that is stopping you from achieving your dreams. And it is the bullshit story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. You know, dream, act, change, evolve, aspire, conquer, right? And these are my contact details. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience.
Thank you so much, Siddharth Rajhans. Well, his life is surely an example for anyone who wants to make a mark in Silicon Valley. Well, certain ideals like resilience, hope, passion, and being individualistic will separate you from the rest. With the right ways to capitalize the opportunities, anyone can reach for the skies.